Hello everyone, welcome back. Today, I Shivansh Bansal, co-founder at Law Community, is here with Kovida Priyum. She's advocate at Delhi High Court and she's Posh Expert and she has immensely worked as a social worker and we are here to know more about her journey and learn from her. So my first question is, what factors influenced you to choose law as a career? How was your law school experience like?
So after graduation, I had a lot of challenges, and it's a very hard struggle coming from a non-legal background. If you don't have the proper contacts and the proper people to put you through the channels, it is a struggle, and so did I have my bit of struggle. For 1 year, I applied and got rejected, and then again applied and got rejected, and people would ask me who has referred to you, and I would have no answer and then rejected. But I think everywhere I went, at the end I would ask them, can you give me some tips about how to navigate through, or give me some books that I can read up, or can you suggest me a book at least? So every person that I met in the field, I would take something from them. One little tip, one little advice, I would make sure that I was getting that. And I was very resilient. I think you have to be very, very, very resilient. You have to know where you want to go, what field you want to go in. You can be confused. It's a very confusing field because it's very, very, very vast. But you have to keep trying and you have to keep exploring and you have to keep. With me, what it helped was I studied law because of the love of subject. So any opportunity that I got, I was very inclined to, learn more and learn more and learn more. So I think that is one trait that people should really inculcate, the trait of, having the zest for learning. Because there is so much to learn in the profession. It is a very, very vast field, right? Yes, I did face a lot of challenges. I landed a job pretty late. I prepared for judiciary in the beginning, and it was not right after college that I started with my job. It took me a while to find a mentor, and he boosted my confidence up like anything. His name is Dhruv Kapoor. He is a litigator and has his office in Defense Colony. And I started going to him, and he taught me about how to litigate a little bit. But soon after I started working with him, I got an opportunity to work at the Delhi High Court with Justice Bipin Sanghi as a law researcher. And with the blessings of my former boss, I went on for a probation period and eventually became a law researcher with Justice Sanghi. This experience was very, very, very enriching for me personally, because Justice Sanghi he used to invest a lot of time in his researchers' knowledge. He would give us judgments to write and tell us, answer our questions, have lunches with us, and you could ask him anything and he would answer you. And very polite, very mentoring kind of energy he has towards his law researchers. Give them a lot of work. So I would go in the morning at 10 o'clock. The court would start and I would stay till 9 o'clock, keep working. So it was very enriching, and I worked on. We had the criminal roster back then, criminal appeals we were dealing with. So most of it was murder, kidnapping and stuff like that. And I love criminal law. So it was a very, very, very enjoyable time for me. One good thing that we had as the experience, I think it was that I will cherish for my life, was when I was there, we came across these appeal petitions against orders in POCSO cases. Now, POCSO is when children are exposed to sexual offenses, right? So that really caught my eye, and we went on to set up a revision bench for some of the judgments that were coming in from the lower courts, and we researched extensively on POCSO laws. In fact, ended up giving some landmark judgments in the field, and that was really, really a very good experience for somebody who's new to the field to come and work on landmark judgments that are being given in the field. That was, I think, the highlight of my experience in the field. Um, so yeah, and then after that, I started my own thing. I went on to litigate with a few more lawyers after I was done with my clerkship. But eventually, I realized that I just want to do my own thing, and I went independent. And I still kept exploring the field about what do I want to do, and then I came across um, what I'm doing now as a Posh Expert. I also litigate, but most of my work as of now is Posh related. And so yeah, I think initial stage was tough, but eventually just you navigate your way through.
So, what, according to you, are certain core characteristics that make a lawyer?
So I think to be a good lawyer, to be a somebody who can survive the field, you have to be very, very resilient. One, uh, two, you have to know what you want to do, as in like what field do you want to get into, where does your interest lie. You can be confused about it initially, but you have to know what rings your bells, right? And once you find that, you have to become really, really resilient towards making it in the field. I think the most important characteristic is being resilient to rejection, because you will get plenty many. At every stage, there is some amount of rejection, some amount of resistance from people, and there is a lot of struggle. It is a very tough field also. You should always have the zest for learning, I would say, because there is a lot to learn. And one thing that my experience being a law researcher taught me was that you have to be really, really thorough. You cannot be superficial about your knowledge. Nobody appreciates that in the field. If you do not have a good core knowledge of what law is, nobody is going to listen to you. Nobody is going to appreciate your knowledge. So I think these are the three most important things to make it in the career. One is you have to be very, very, very resilient. Two is you have to grab opportunities as soon as they come. And three is you have to have the zest for learning, because if you don't have good knowledge, if your knowledge does not come from a very solid core of reading and learning, it is very hard. Nobody really appreciates you. So the knowledge has to be sterling here. So I think these three, if you have it, you will pretty much navigate through.
So, according to you, what more legislation can be made for the protection of women at workplace from being exploited?
Okay. So what legislation we have in place as of now is the POSH Act. It's the Prevention of Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act. It came in 2013. Now, if you look at the act, it's a very, very vague piece of legislation, I would say. It's just Vishakha guidelines were given by the Supreme Court, and it's mostly based on that. So the guidelines were imbibed into an act, and they passed it, the Parliament did. And that is how the act came into place, right? If you go through it, it's a very vague act. Does not have proper measures, I would say, to be supported with every organization's own POSH policy. So if you see like these colleges that are functioning, UGC has a POSH policy. So if you're affiliated to UGC, which you obviously are, you have to follow those guidelines, and they are very, very comprehensive, right? But organizations have kind of a lot of power when it comes to what exactly is going to be their POSH policy. And most of the organizations don't really work on their POSH policy. So eventually they end up just adopting the POSH Act into their policy, which again makes it very, very vague. Now, I feel this is a very massive disadvantage, because when you have a vague piece of legislation to work with, you're bound to have a lot of loopholes, right? So I think what we need to do is make a mandatory, uh, you know, um, make a mandatory statute as to you have to define exactly what the parameters of your posh policy is for the organization, because obviously the parliament did not pass a very, very stringent law. So I feel one of the things that needs to be done is the organization, and it's in the benefit of the organization. All the organizations that I've dealt with, I have told them to take this seriously, because eventually your interests can be hampered too. It's a two-way thing, right? It's not just for the victim, it's also for the organization that she can claim anything. And if you have vague laws, you could land into trouble. So I think one of the things that needs to be done is the organizations need to take it seriously, which they don't. Another thing that I feel can be done is the awareness of it is very, very, very low still. I mean, it's coming out in 2013. It's been like 7 years. Not much information about it amongst the people who work outside the legal structures, right? Whoever they know that yes, the protection is there, but they don't know where to approach, how to go about it, what to do, what not to do. If they have been sexually exploited, they go to the police. The police is like, "Arey, madam, kya ho gaya?" And eventually, it's very discouraging. And there is a lot of stigma attached to it as well, because nobody wants to go out and say, "My boss harassed me," or my colleague harassed me, or something like that. It's very, you know, not such a pleasant experience. So a lot of females, they quit their jobs and they don't talk about it. So I think we need to, one, destigmatize the issue a little, because it's rampant and it needs to be addressed if the females want to still work and have a career, which of course pushes your economy to a great extent. You have to be serious about all of these laws and the protection of females, because eventually if a good female of your organization leaves your organization suffers as well. More so when she's not addressing the problem and just leaving. She'll go to another organization and then she'll put her brains there. So I think the awareness of it is very, very important, that what the law says, what your organization's posh policy says, and a little bit of sensitization needs to be done in the males that are working, because often in our culture we use language that is unparliamentary, and it's taken as a friendly, friendly kind of environment, and that might not really go well with every female that exists. So for that matter, even males. And I'm a strong supporter of gender neutral policies. I don't say only for the protection of females. I know of it that this happens with males as well. Males are harassed too sexually. And I'm all up for gender neutral policies at every organization, but most organizations prefer to keep it only to females. But yes, this is something that needs to be addressed, that in a workplace, what matters is that you have to keep the environment conducive for everybody who's in that environment, right? So I always advocate that, keep it very, 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 very conducive. Don't do anything that might cause discomfort to anybody around you, right? Because you never know what might offend one person, which might not offend another person. So if you're in a group talking to 5 girls and they are okay with your jokes or your unparliamentary language, there might be a girl sitting in the corner who's not okay with it, and then that could land you into trouble. So I think one of the things that I feel is lacking in the field is the seriousness to impose this law, although there are statutes that say that they will check up on it and you have to file annual reports on it and everything, but I still feel that the organizations are not really taking it seriously. And if you go and you see at the ground level, the execution of it is really, really poor. The first thing they would do is fire the girl who has complained. And that is really, really unfair. They don't know where to complain. They don't know. So the awareness of it is very not up to the mark. So I think one, we need to spread more awareness about it. Trainings need to be done. Another thing that I feel is we have IC teams, right, who sit on the POSH complaints that come in. Now, IC team is formed by the organization, has an external member, and IC teams in itself are not equipped to deal with a complaint. They don't know what to do, how to go about it. And if you see the legislation, the IC teams come with a highly empowered team. They have rights of the civil court. So they can make, they literally have to receive complaints, sit on them and give a decision like they're functioning in a court. And that I feel is really, really none of the IC teams that I have dealt with or trained had any knowledge about the law or any knowledge about how to conduct a formal inquiry. So I think this is a very, very serious issue that the IC teams, at least, which are being formed, need to be trained very, very well in the procedure of how to handle a complaint, how to give your recommendations eventually. So from the time you receive a complaint to the time you give a recommendation to your employer, the procedure has to be crystal clear with the IC teams, which I have never found to be the case, right? So I think these are certain issues that we need to be more serious about. It's all in the legislation, yes, but it's drafted so vaguely that people don't really take it seriously. And of course, because the implementation is still so poor, the organizations are not really waking up to the disadvantages that are being caused because of the lack of implementation. So I think these 2-3 factors are very, very important in the field. They need to be addressed at a very, very alarming, expediency, but haven't been yet, I feel.
So, how has the pandemic scenario affected the legal workings in your daily life of business?
Yes, of course. Pandemic has been really, really disastrous for, I think, most people in the legal field because the courts are shut. So whatever litigation we were doing is down. Everything is going just dates being given out unless it's an urgent hearing. So that part kept aside, it has also impacted a lot of in the posh area also it has impacted massively because now more so that people are working at home, most of the people are working from home, and it's very hard to complain now or sit on meetings now or take evidences now, or just the whole thing has become very, very, very hard to navigate around. So I was a professional trainer for organizations as well. I would go and I would train organizations in the physical capacity, and that has completely come to a standstill. I'm not going anywhere because I'm scared to going and addressing. So this would be like 100 people, 200 people that I would have to address for like 6 hours. We are training people and stuff like that, and I cannot take the risk as of now, and neither would any organization do that. So a lot of it has gone online, and organizations are obviously not taking it very seriously. It's just come to a standstill. If they're doing it, they're doing online trainings, which I personally feel are not very enlightening, although they're okay. They are POSH compliant, and I work with organizations which do it. They are perfectly POSH compliant trainings, and of course empaneled by the ministry and stuff like that. So I think one of the ways that it has hit the industry altogether is that the profession of law is very much going in physical capacity and telling people, talking, getting information, working on the information and everything. And in the scenario that we are faced with during this pandemic, where physical contact or anything is just not being done, that obviously has impacted a lot. But it's still, the good thing about this is now everything is online and everything, most of the things are recorded. So if there is any sexual harassment happening in respect to POSH, we will have a lot of evidences. So I think that's a positive aspect of everything going online. But otherwise, yes, the industry in altogether has been very, very impacted. Most of the people are young lawyers who were working with senior lawyers have lost their jobs, and most of them have returned home. I have returned home, but that was mostly because I did not want to be alone, uh, considering that the social life is completely deconstructed. So yes, it has affected the legal fraternity in a very, very massive way. But we are very hopeful that things will get to normal, and the courts and even the lawyers are suggesting and coming up with ways of how to start it again. And in the event that this lasts longer, I think things will go virtual, and which is also okay. I mean, um, it's not really, it scares me what will happen to the legal fraternity if things go online altogether. Everything where, and you know how cases are like, right? Because it could be one party versus 35 people. So you cannot have like 35 people on a video conferencing, everybody talking, and you know how it's in the court. So it bewilders me how we're going to navigate through. But I'm sure people will come up with solutions in case this lasts longer than this year. We are hopeful. But yes, it has impacted massively, and that's just, it's just something you have to deal with. But we're hopeful still. Virtually, we can do a lot still. Trainings can be done virtually still. So if not very, very enriching information is shared, some information can be shared, which is definitely helpful, and it's all being done online. So it's not all that bad, but yeah, it helps more to have a face-to-face interaction with people rather than a virtual one, because virtual one, you know how people interact, right? Mostly they're not even listening to what is happening. So I think that's about that, but it's okay, part of life.
So, how much is socializing and talking to people is important in legal field? And is it possible for a self-contained person to survive in law?
Okay, it is very, very important. Like I said, when I had started my career initially and I was facing challenges and I would get talking to people, I would always make sure that I come back with some piece of information or insight from the person that I was interacting with. It is very, very important to socialize and talk to people, because everybody comes with some sort of experience, and since it's such a massive field, it impacts all aspects of your life, right? Law is everything is impacted by law, right? So anybody from any field will give you some insight that you might not have. And it's very, very important to have a lot of knowledge in this field. Knowledge is what you sell eventually. If you have the right knowledge at the right time, that is how you will eventually fetch clients for yourself. So I think it is very massively important to socialize. Um, Socialize with the right people, socialize with the people who can teach you something, talk to people who can teach you something, talk to people who can, um, you know, help you navigate into the field. There are a lot of, I at least for my career, I navigated all by talking to people, reading up online also. So there is a lot of networking that is happening online. I got into Posh through online, networking and stuff. And because I had experience in sexual offences while working at the High Court, I was very inclined to work still in sexual offences, or the prevention of it. I'm sorry. So yes, it is very, very important, and yes, it is possible for a self-contained person. Of course, it is possible. Nothing is impossible in life. It is very tough. Yes, it is immensely tough to navigate on your own without any support. I did it. I struggled a lot, and but it is not impossible. You will get somewhere. It's easier for people, yes, it is, who have the right contacts and who can get to the right places with those contacts. But it's not impossible. You just have to be resilient. You have to keep your eyes open to opportunities, really. That is what helps. And that is what helped me. I ran everywhere, every nook and corner. I would look for opportunities. Where do I work? Where do I work? Where do I work? Nobody ever referred me to anybody. Till date, I have not been referred to by anybody, and I've never, what you call, pulled a string or something with anybody through contacts. I've always looked for opportunities, and wherever I could find it, I gave it my best. I faced a lot of rejection, but then I faced a lot of good opportunities that were granted to me only because I was very resilient and I was very strong-headed about I want to make it in the field and I want to work in this field. So a lot of people appreciate that in itself. That okay, she's young, she's not very exposed to it, but she really wants to work. So everybody that I've worked with, they might not be like, yeah, she knew everything or something, but they always come up um, with the feedback that, she was really hardworking. So you have to be very, very hardworking. You have to be very, very resilient. If you have those qualities in you, it's not really impossible for people who are self-contained to kind of navigate through the field. You'll get through. You will get through. You just have to be, um, you know, giving every shot your best.
So, what advice or some suggestions you would like to give to the people who have just started their career in law or law students who are still studying?
Okay. So for law students, I would say please, please, please acquaint yourself with judgment. If you want to get into litigation, it is very, very, very important. Or any other field as well, I guess. If you are a lawyer and you're not used to reading judgments, because judgments, the landmark one would be like 600, 700 pages, sometimes crossing 1,000 pages and stuff. And I feel students somewhere do not have that, knack of going through the entire judgment. They would read summaries or notes, case notes, and stuff like that, which is fine to some extent. It's not really a very, very bad habit. But I think if you really want to be a good lawyer, it is immensely important to have the patience to read a judgment, because that is where the law really exists. When you're in practice, if you do not understand the nuances of law, it will really, really pull you down. So I think one advice that I would want to give young lawyers, and this coming from the fact that I graduated from Delhi University, our curriculum was such that we were made to study judgments a lot. I don't know why it is framed that way. Maybe because, and you see a lot of Delhi University students eventually end up litigating. They don't really go into corporate or anything like that because they have the knack of studying the judgment, and judgments are beautiful. If you like the study of law, you will find judgments beautiful. And once you navigate into how to read a judgment, it's really easy to read a judgment. It doesn't really take that long. But you really need to know what do you have to carve out from a judgment, from where, right? If you want to practice, it's essential, very, very essential. Something that I really liked studying judgments for some reason, and mostly because it was a part of our curriculum, and it was, like law flowing into judgment sort of a thing. So I think judgment padna is very, very important. Another thing that I would advise law students specifically is please expose yourself to as much internships as you can. Expose yourself to every field. If you're not sure where you want to go, internships is what will help you navigate your career ahead. Internships is what will get you understand which field you want to go through. Apply early into internships. You do get through. If you have somebody to put you in touch with the people that you're trying to intern with, very good. If you don't, please keep applying. Again, resilience is the key. Keep applying. You will face a lot of rejections, but keep applying, and keep applying to a lot of places so that you have options. Internships will give you immense exposure and an idea about what do you want to do after you're done with your college. Apart from that, a third advice would be please enjoy your law college. Law colleges are very amazing opportunities to interact, have very, very good conversations, have amazing friends who will educate you, will have good conversations. Have good conversations with your friends. A lot of my knowledge comes from having good conversations with friends who educate, because you as a law student also, or as a lawyer, you will not be able to study the entirety of law, right? So maybe somebody has studied some part of legislation that they can help you with. Network early. uh, Whoever you intern with, keep in touch with them. It helps a lot eventually. Um, and I think that's about it. These are certain things for the law students, and someone who's early on into the legal field, someone who's just graduated. Please keep an eye out for opportunities that keep growing in the field. Know what you want, and when you have an opportunity, give it your best shot. You might be rejected. Don't be disheartened. A lot of people are rejected, and they still get through somewhere. So when you are faced with a rejection, don't be disheartened. You will face a lot many more. But eventually things do settle down. With experience, with knowledge, you do eventually get through to places. So be a little resilient. Don't be disheartened. Keep your fight alive. And network as much as possible. When you meet someone and you talk to someone, please take something from them. Take an advice, or take a book suggestion, or take something from them. It is very important and very appreciated in the field as well. Yeah, so that's about it.
So, how can an organization like Law Community prove beneficial to legal fraternity? And what new avenues are expected by legal professionals such as yourself?
So law community, see, all of these people who are working in the legal tech field, I feel you guys can contribute immensely to the legal field, because if you see the legal field, it's a very close-knit circle of people who are actually working in the field, and there's not really much avenues of the youngsters reaching into that field, right? So I think with organizations such as yourself, what you can do is you can really help people with knowledge about the field, with exposure about the field, and generally helping people understand the legal field better. Because I often come across people, or my clients as well, they don't understand the legal language, because legal language is, you have to accept, a little, you know, tricky to understand. So, in my experience this far, I do not think I have met even one client who understood the judgment or the order that was passed, and they would just keep looking at people with blank faces. The lawyers at blank faces. What order? And a lot of times I've seen in court that lawyers would just fool them with an unfavorable order. They would say, "Oh no, nothing, it's okay," and they would buy it. So I think apart from you educating the legal fraternity about it, you can also educate the general people about it, of what and how to, how to access the legal fraternity. A lot of people have absolutely no idea what to do in case any of their rights are breached, or in case they don't even know what rights exist to start with. So I think all of these tech-enabled legal organizations that are functioning, especially functioning on social media and stuff, one of the primary things you can do is spread legal education, more so because people seem to not be so aware about it. Within the fraternity as well as outside the fraternity, people really do not know what law is and what general awareness about a democracy is. So I think that is something that you can help with. And what new avenues are expected by legal professionals such as yourself? I think law is such a living field. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. So with social media coming up, there are new laws also coming up, and with other things happening, law will breach into that somehow, because regulation is law. And so I think a lot of avenues open up. A lot of so youngsters such as myself, a very good opportunity would be to interact with people through these mediums and um, educate them however much we can, because you have to eventually pay back to your community. So when I was approached by you people, I was like, oh, nice. Now we can talk about some of the things that need to be told to people. So I think young lawyers, yes, you can give them visibility, you can give them opportunities, you can about understanding the field better, understanding how to navigate in the field better. I think dissipation of knowledge is something that you guys can help with really a lot, especially functioning in the social media spectrum. I think that is very important. Um, and I think that will make a change in the legal fraternity, which is a very, very close community. And that is the main reason why most of the young people are so frustrated and they give up on their dreams of eventually litigating. I know of a lot of people who, in fact, my peers from college who wanted to litigate but couldn't, and so eventually moved on to, other roles and moved on to organizations because they did not have exposure, they didn't know what to do, and the struggle was so tough that they did not want to they just couldn't anymore, and everybody comes with responsibility and stuff. So I think there's a lot that you guys can do, and I hope that organizations such as yourself do eventually figure out more ways of dissipating education, dissipating visibility to people. um, and that's about it. I think I would like to hear more about your ideas on it rather than mine, since it's your organization. But I think it's a very, very good thing that people from the legal field are now venturing into avenues such as what you guys are doing, because it is very essential to break the close community of the field, and eventually, I hope this does give more people a chance to make it in the field.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for having such an amazing interaction with us. And
Thank you so
it's
much, Shivansh. It was amazing to talk to you. It's a great experience talking to young people such as yourself who are so passionate about the field and interested in what is happening, what is going on.